When my husband, Daniel, passed away suddenly from a heart attack, I thought grief would be the hardest part of my new reality. But I was wrong. What haunted me most was not only his absence but the one place he always made me promise never to go, the cabin in the woods. For 25 years of marriage, Daniel spoke about that cabin with a mix of sternness and fear. "Never go there, Emma. It's not for you," he would say, his voice firm, eyes dark with a seriousness that chilled me. Out of love, out of respect, I listened. Until the day he was gone, and silence became my only companion. The funeral was a blur of condolences, flowers, and whispered voices. People described Daniel as kind, strong, dependable, the man who helped neighbors fix roofs, the man who brought laughter to family dinners. And he was all of that. Yet, in the quiet nights after the funeral, when the house felt like a hollow shell, I couldn't stop thinking about that cabin. Why did he fear it so much? Why did he keep it hidden, locked away like a dark shadow in our marriage? One chilly morning, after weeks of sleepless nights, I decided I had nothing left to lose. I drove to the edge of the forest where the old dirt path led to the cabin. The woods were eerily silent, the kind of silence that presses against your skin. The cabin stood there, just as I had imagined it all these years, weathered wood, shuttered windows, ivy creeping up the sides. It looked abandoned, but I could feel its weight, its secret, pressing against me like a living thing. The front door was locked, but Daniel had always carried a small brass key on his chain. I found it among his belongings and brought it with me. My hands shook as I slid it into the lock. The door creaked open, and the smell of dust and old wood hit me. Sunlight streamed weakly through cracks in the walls, revealing a small, cramped room. At first, it looked ordinary, an old table, a chair, shelves lined with forgotten tools. But then I saw it, a large wooden chest in the corner, padlocked and covered in dust. My heart pounded. This was it. The secret Daniel had carried to his grave. My hands trembled as I knelt beside the chest. I forced it open with a crowbar I found leaning against the wall. Inside, there were stacks of letters, photographs, and journals. I pulled one out, unfolded it, and my blood ran cold. It was Daniel's handwriting, but the words were addressed not to me, but to someone named Anna. Letter after letter revealed a truth I never imagined. Anna was a woman Daniel had loved long before me, a woman who had disappeared mysteriously years ago. As I read further, I discovered she hadn't just vanished, she had died. But it wasn't an accident. The journals painted a story of guilt, heartbreak, and choices Daniel had made long before he met me. Anna had been pregnant with his child, and one stormy night, they fought near the very woods where this cabin stood. She slipped, fell, and never woke again. Daniel had buried his secret with her, both literally and figuratively. Tears blurred my vision as I pieced the story together. The cabin wasn't just a place of memory, it was his shrine of guilt, his prison of sorrow. He couldn't bring himself to destroy the letters or the journals, so he locked them away, living the rest of his life with a burden too heavy to confess. I sat on the wooden floor, clutching those letters, torn between anger and compassion. For years, I had loved a man who carried this hidden darkness. Should I feel betrayed? Or should I understand that his silence came from fear, fear of losing me, fear of reliving the pain of his past? My grief twisted into something more complicated, something I couldn't put into words. But as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the cabin, I realized something important. Daniel's secret, though devastating, didn't erase the life we had built together. He had been a good husband, a loving father to our children, a man who tried, despite his demons, to give me the best of himself. His past was tragic, but his love for me had been real. I decided to leave the cabin with the letters, but not the bitterness. Instead of hating him for his silence, I chose to see the man who carried his shame yet still managed to give me decades of companionship and love. The truth hurt, yes, but it also humanized him. He wasn't perfect. He was flawed, broken, and yet still worthy of love. When I finally locked the cabin and walked back down that lonely path, I felt lighter. The secret hadn't destroyed me, it had freed me. Because I no longer had to wonder. I finally knew the truth. And with that truth came an understanding: we all have parts of ourselves we fear to share, but it doesn't mean the love we give is any less real. Back home, I placed the letters in a box and sealed it. I decided I would not let Daniel's past overshadow the life we had shared. Instead, I would carry his memory with both the light and the darkness, knowing that true love is not about perfection, but about forgiveness. And so, his secret became my burden too, but unlike him, I chose not to hide it. I chose to tell this story, not as a tale of betrayal, but as a reminder: even in the deepest shadows, love can still exist, imperfect but true.